Hey Myles, here at Tactical Hyve. Welcome back. It is Thursday, so that means it's live fire day, and we are going to work on what we covered on Monday's dry fire session, and that is trigger control, specifically moving our trigger finger straight to the rear so that we can make the gun go bang without disturbing the sights. So if you're interested, make sure to stay tuned to this video. A quick recap of Monday, there were 3 dry fire exercises that I wanted you to focus on with an added bonus, potentially. One of them was just using your finger and bending your trigger finger from the second knuckle. The second was using a dry pistol, and I recommended using the dry fire mag to take single shots to see if there's any disruption of your sights. Then the third exercise was doing 2 to 3 shots to really amp yourself up. And then the fourth, which was kind of a bonus, was to do some target transitions. The whole idea is we're trying to add movement that might make you jerk the actual gun, right, while you're pulling the trigger, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Now for live fire, we are going to simulate those exercises. Remember, dry fire simulates a lot of the movements that you can do live fire. So now if you were dry firing properly, this live fire exercise should be rather simple. For this live fire exercise, I have a target downrange, about 7 yards, but you want to use a distance that is achievable for you to hit decent groups, but not that easy. Okay, so I don't know exactly what that is. You want it to be challenged, but it has to be realistic so you can actually get good shots. So for example, I'm using a USPSA target with an A zone, and let's just say that A zone is easy for you to hit at 3 yards, but if you get to 7 yards, you're always missing it at 7 yards, pretending here. So then maybe go to 5 yards where, maybe you're hitting the outer edge of that A zone, or, maybe even a little bit closer. Basically, you want to find the middle ground where it's not too hard, not too easy, okay? So I'm just using 7 yards for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to load and make ready, and then I'll explain what we're going to do here. So we are going to do start exactly the way we started with the dry fire. We are going to put our finger on the frame, and then you're going to present to the target. Then when you are ready, you know what you want to shoot, you're aiming in, put your finger on the trigger, but we are not going to prep the trigger. Okay, that is key here, no prepping of the trigger. This is not necessarily the way that you would shoot in different circumstances. We are isolating a skill set right here, and we are focusing on the principle of just moving the trigger straight to the rear. So what we're going to do is we are going to touch the trigger, we are not prepping it, and then we are going to try to touch our nose or say come here with our fingers. Again, moving the trigger finger straight to the rear. So we're going to take that shot, one shot, then reset and prep. Okay, so after I have that shot, 1, you'll see if you're accurate or not, but 2, don't forget everything we've covered in this series. Make sure you are resetting and prepping, and you have good fundamentals. If you want to work on other things as well, like did you have a good stance, was your grip good, okay, you can isolate all that stuff as well, okay, add that to your checklist. I'm happy with the shot, things look good, center mass, same thing here. I'm going to aim where I want to, finger on the trigger, and then from here I'm going to break the shot. Okay, reset and prep, I'm good. Finger off the trigger and back. Okay, you can do this from the draw if you want to, but I do recommend, just like I've said in other videos, when you're isolating, we don't want to add more movements that just might confuse you. Okay, now when you perfected this, okay, no problem at all. Go ahead and do it from the holster. I'm just doing it from a compressed ready position. Now, when you're comfortable with this, okay, and you see that your groups are good, then you can add 2 to 3 shots. So here I'm going to present. I'm just touching the trigger. I'm not prepping it. Now I took 2 shots, okay? Finger out the trigger, and I'm back. If everything is working out great, then you can progress. You could add more targets, so on and so forth. Remember, we do not want to do this from a prep trigger because we want to just work on isolating. Sometimes you're not going to be able to prep that trigger. So we want to just do it from just touching. Okay, now let's say that your shots are all over the place, low left, all over the place. They're not where you want to hit. That means there is movement happening. There's sympathetic movement, okay? So one thing you need to understand is, and do for your subsequent reps, is you need to tell yourself, okay, I'm here, I know I'm touching the trigger, I know that I need to move my trigger finger straight to the rear, but just move my trigger finger, nothing else moves. Okay, and before you break that shot, a single shot here, tell yourself that. Nothing else moves, just my trigger finger. Okay, that's all you want. Okay, then stop, evaluate, do it again. Here, touching the trigger finger, or touching the trigger with my finger, and then break the shot. Anytime your shots are not where you want them to be, you need to pause and think about why they're not hitting where you want them to be. Especially if your red dot or your iron sights are exactly where you were aiming, right? And then all of a sudden the bullet's not going there. Remember, it's not your gun, particularly if your gun is zeroed, okay, assuming there's no malfunctions with your gun and no issues, then there's movement that you are causing. So we need to isolate that. So this is a very simple exercise here, guys, that I want you to do. And every time you are not hitting, then remember, it's going to be usually two things here. One is you are adding movement because of your grip, okay? In terms of your grip, sympathetic movement. We've talked about this in the past, where I want to move just my trigger finger, but other fingers are moving, and that's throwing the gun out. Okay, of course. Okay, so I'm not going to hit my target. Of course, there could be anticipation as well. Okay, so we can throw that in there as well. The second reason is about trigger control. You may not be moving the trigger straight to the rear. You may be yanking to the left or right and pulling the gun left or right. So the solution here is to really think about it and isolate, focus. Finger on the trigger, okay, but not prepping. Break the shot, reset and prep. Okay, and then do it as often as you need to until your groups become smaller. Now, you don't necessarily need to keyhole your shots. We're just looking for improvement. Remember, you're not going to necessarily get great and be perfect in one session. It takes some time, okay? But this is a simple exercise, and if everything is easy, remember, you can do two shots, 3 shots, and then add more targets. But the key here, mental focus, hyper focus on moving just the trigger finger straight to the rear. That wraps up today's live fire session. Remember, hyper focus is the name of the game here, moving just your trigger finger straight to the rear. Give this exercise a try. If you're having some issues, go back to the dry fire exercise that we covered Monday. Do that a number of times. Get used to the movements again. Go back to the live fire range, then conduct the exercise. You should see better performance. As I mentioned on Monday's video, if you guys like this type of content, the progression, make sure to check out Handgun Mastery Pro. It's a collab course that we did with Tactical Performance Center. The link is below. And as always, guys, if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, leave us some comments, and don't forget to subscribe. See you guys next week.